Alright guys, I lied to you. I told you I wouldn't have a video out this week, but I think I'm going to do one. I have a show this weekend in Watkins Glen, Finger Lakes Wine Festival, Saturday and Sunday. If you're down in that area, stop by. But I like to have something different, something new at each of my shows. Just that, and when I have the 2-week interval between the shows, I have easy time to do that. A couple of ideas that I tried this week just didn't work out, so today I want something different. We're going to do something pretty simple. It's something I want to do. I think it's going to be something that people like. And well, the idea is I normally have some jewelry items, forged leaves, stainless steel leaves, things like that, necklaces, some smaller items that you know, I try to keep a huge mix of different types of products. I don't have any of those. I'm not in the mood to forge up a bunch of leaves, although I might. So I decided to do with you know, when I go to the shows, I bring along the knives that I've made in the videos for the people that have seen the videos, and you know, everybody loves that pattern steel, that Damascus kind of look. And since cable is pretty simple to weld, it was either this or bandsaw blades, I decided I'm going to forge weld some of this cable up. You know, I won't need much. I bet you I don't need 6-8 inches of it for what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to create pendants out of it with some Viking runes or some other symbols on it. And I think if I can figure out a way to get that done and get those, see, finishing a small piece like that on the grinder and things, it's going to be a little bit hairy. But if I can get that done, I think that'll be a nice little addition to my show this weekend. So we're going to start off by forge welding some cable. I don't know, it's 3/4 cable probably. I already welded off the end of it. Let's get this thing in the forge. Let's get the crud cooked off of it and it tightened up. Goes on forge welding cable, so refer to those for a lot of the details. The first thing I like to do, heat this thing up, and I just whack it on the anvil to help get rid of all that stuff that's inside there. Again, by forge welding in the end, it's not going to come apart on you too much. But that gets a lot of the things that are going to cause us grief out of the picture. Cleans it right up. I'm actually tight enough. Let's go ahead and do it, or hot enough rather. Where's the vise? We'll tighten this thing right now. And again, I only heated a section of it, just enough for what I think I need. Just going to crank this sucker down. Again, to remove as much air as possible so that the forward weld works. Something like that. So 2 steps in one, that's good. Kind of straighten that out just a little bit without untangling it much. You can do that by rolling the cable in the direction that it's turned while you're hammering. So I think that'll be good. I'm only going to go for about that much anyway for the forge weld. So that's what happens when you're out of practice from doing videos, sorry. So I just kind of straighten this out so it wasn't quite so kinked. What I was explaining is that I'm only going to forge weld maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of it anyway. It's ready to go. I'm going to heat it up. We'll go ahead and flux it. Again, trying to get all that crap out of there. In these initial heating instances, I'm really not trying to pump the heat as fast as I can through there. I want this thing to come up to temperature from center to outside, so I take a little extra time on that. But once we get to the point where we're fluxing it like this, we're going to go in for the forging heat. I think we can probably get, I don't know, maybe that whole distance if we get a good heat on there. At least 2 or 3 inches in one forge hit. So let's give her the heat. All right, so I'm giving it some air, not a lot. Again, I'm not trying to instantly bring up the temperature. And with cable and large stock like this, I'll go ahead and roll it over, especially cable, because those individual strands heat a little easier than the whole mass. And I'll just sit here with a gentle crank for, well, as long as it takes, until we get to the temperature that I like. Nice and easy, nice and slow. Then the freaky stuff starts. It's like with the fire I have, the end itself is getting warmer than the next 2 or 3 inches, so we might have a short weld here. I'm going to go with the 2-pound hammer, quick, gentle hits, just to set that weld. As soon as we get back up to temperature, I don't believe it's there on both sides. That end is flaring like crazy. Let's give it a go. That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad at all for a first weld. Ouch. I never really rolled the cable while welding it before, but I think that was a good idea, especially for one of the things I'm hoping to do. So from there I go back to the flux. This is the first video you've seen me do forge welding. For flux I use borax. Find it in the laundry section of almost every grocery store. Fluxed her back up, we'll go in for a little more aggressive weld. See if we can get that thing quickly down into one solid piece. Always check for fires after you splatter. One more time on the 2-pounder. Oh man, what the hell? The freaking thing's bouncing around. Freaking rookie. Hot tamales. So that wasn't a very impressive illustration of forge welding. But we're looking really good, except for the outside. That rolling technique that I'm doing, I'm not sure is helping me, but like I said, I'm trying to go for a particular outcome, which I've never done before, which you'll see hopefully soon enough. So I'm going to go back in and then one more time with the 3-pound hammer. No, I'm going to go with the 2-pound again because I really want to get that outside welded in. I can see not inclusions, not fractures either, but grooves from where some of the cable hasn't merged together. And I don't want that to open up, I don't think. But we're learning, right? Well, hopefully. Hopefully we're good. After that third weld. Get a little shape on it now. Again, I want it round. Normally I would take this to square, but in reality I do want it round. And with the cable being rounded, I was hoping to maintain some of that structure. So we'll see. Like, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a couple of striations here which I normally wouldn't have if I had hammered that in. But I think we're going to be okay. So let's go ahead and move to step 2 of this process. Now I welded the end, I'm not sure if that fell off or not. I welded the end with a welder, so I'm going to shave off an end of this. And I think what I want to do is a couple of techniques that I had in mind was to go ahead and kind of flatten this out and then dome it with forging, and then taking that long piece and grinding it all at once, putting the symbols in and then cutting it, and then only have the ends to finish. But I kind of want to see what that end grain looks like, or end pattern, with those cables welded together. I know what the side pattern looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and nip off the weld part at the end, and then a slice. And then we'll go ahead and drag that slice out into a pendant shape. I don't know, teardrop or square or rectangle or something without structure. And we'll grind that up and we'll etch it. We'll see what that end pattern looks like. If I'm not overly impressed with that, then I'll come back and flatten the rest of this out and do my original plan. So hold tight, I'll shave a couple pieces off. Got about a 1/4 inch off the full piece, and then I cut this slug, I don't know, about a 1/2 inch. And what I want to do now is in this direction flatten it out. If there's little dots at the end of this cable, which I would think there would be, by flattening out I should exaggerate those dots, and I think we'll get kind of a polka dot effect. That's what I'm going for. Like I said, this is something I haven't done before, and I'm definitely not a pattern steel expert in any way. But let's heat it up, we'll see what we get. Oh shoot, I didn't want to drop that, so I only have a few seconds here. That forge weld, I'm not going to have tongs, so I'll have to hold this thing. Isn't that funny how Chandler always finds himself in that situation? Never tongs small enough. Definitely not these. Holy cow, there's no way I'm going to flatten it like that. That is cool. Always trying to learn something new we are, huh? So we got to come up with a way to hold it. But that's what I'm trying to do, is flatten this thing out. and let me put it in the fire again. I'll tell you, you gotta watch these pieces because they're pretty damn small. You can lose them. Let me see if I can come up with something smaller. Hold it with. You're about to see hokey, but if this works even a little, once I get it a little wider, the tongs don't open wide enough. Put back in the tongs. See, if these are a little bit flat, I think it would work better. But they're holding a little bit anyway. At least for one hit. So we'll figure out how to make this slug. Actually, it's almost big enough for me now. Let's just start working it like this. I don't want to work it too cold because that forge weld wasn't top notch. So I'll come back. I think I got enough distance there. Maybe just some type of swage or something to flatten it out. Press on Chandler again. I'm trying not to. I really want to go as flat down as I can. I'm not trying to paint papers or anything on it. And I don't mind it being round. It's got to be relatively thin. Thinking more squarish, but you never know. You never know. Let's go ahead and bugger up the outside a little bit. Maybe a coin. Interesting idea. Maybe we'll go for a coin effect. See what that does. Problem with this, I'm gonna need jump rings, I think. But anyway, all right, let's go with that for now. Again, we're just proof of concepting this. I'm gonna let that thing cool. I'll go ahead and figure out how I can grind something that small, and we'll etch it and come back. I'll come back after I'm done grinding. And that thing is just it gets too hot too quickly, so I made it. I don't know, what is it? A valve? It's like a valve. It's just something to hold on to. Again, it's proof of concept. Can I do this on every single piece, go through this? I'm thinking at the end I can just cut that off and grind it very quickly with a surface grinder because we don't really need the back to be as pretty as the front. But it's just as a proof of concept, that's what we're going to try, this lollipop stick. I'll be back. Grinding, I took it down to 320. I think that's good enough for now. Get it to a nice clean edge. There's some scratches in there from the higher grits, but for now it'll be all right. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the etch for a few minutes, probably 5 minutes or so at the most, and we'll bring it back and let's see what kind of pattern we get on this thing. Sure, I'm happy with it. It's a little more subtle than I want, maybe a little more time in the etch, but I did etch it for a few minutes. Here comes the rain again, good. Try to block the sun here if I can. I don't know, it's kind of pretty. It's what I was wanting. I wanted the round dots. I wanted the individual ends of those cables to show up, which kind of looks like stone or something, you know what I mean? Like a mosaic of stone. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with this one. I think I'm okay with it. I'm not particularly fond of the round shape, but I have an idea for that. I'm going to go ahead and nip this off from where I welded it. I'm going to drill a hole in it and drift that hole out. That should give a little pronounced spot on one side. Again, the key is, what am I going to sell these for? Maybe 20 bucks most, right? So I got to make sure I can get these things done 15 minutes or so. But we can do a bunch of these at once, I think, once we get the process down. So let me cut that out and drill the hole in it. We'll go back and drift it. We'll stamp in the symbol that I want, and then we'll go ahead and actually finish it up. And I'm going to put clear coat on it, enamel. I think that'll protect it and the user, and hopefully it'll bring out that pattern a little bit more too. So I'll be back after cutting the hole and drilling. And that's probably where I'll end up stopping. I'll just try to forge this into more of a teardrop or something shape, and then just drill a hole in it. I think that's the safest way to deal with it. But let's, again, I'm experimenting with a prototype. I've got all the time in it that I want, so I need to make sure that I can get this done efficiently. But let's reheat this. I'll make up a little drift if I can find one, and just drift that hole a little bit more. If I can drift it enough to distort this and give me enough room for a hitch on a leather 2 millimeter leather, then I don't have to put a jump ring on. That saves a little bit of money and a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and heat it up and we'll drift it out. This is in the fire. And I went over and ground out a punch, or a drift. Then I forgot where I put that in the fire. Then I had to tear the whole friggin' fire apart looking for it. Damn rookie mistake. So you have the fire restarted while it's coming up. I'm going to throw this in the propane forge. We'll come back to drift it. Damn. So if we get this son of a bitch out of here before it gets too cold to drift. Wish I had a smaller hole than this Pritchard hole, but I don't think I'm going to be doing this anyway. Drifted both ways. Kind of gives it a, I don't know, not manufactured, but a handmade look. Rather than drilling a hole. But at the same time, it did distort that circle. But I can do that with a hammer, so I'm not going to waste any more time with it. We'll try a few one way or another, but I like the distortion. I think more of a teardrop shape would be better anyway. Alright, my forge is still not back up. God bless it. Can't believe I lost that thing in there. But it is what it is. Of course I don't have the air on, that's not helping anything. Alright, so let me explain, I'll come back, let me explain this thing. For Viking runes, I learned my lesson with the fire steel because the interpretation of these runes are all over the place. I think this is the Elder Futhork, whatever it's called. I forgot when I printed this one out, but this is the one we're going to base everything on. And what I've noticed here is something that I'd like to work into, and this is a little bit on the career side. Maybe you guys that are in Vikings will hate me. But this straight line, ISA, a challenge, a frustration, time to turn inward, wait, you know, a challenge is the way I look at it, all right? But then they throw this little diagonal line on this one. Right here, and now it becomes endurance, survival of that challenge, which I kind of like that. And then if you go ahead and throw these little two tails on that line, you have strength, reliability, dependability. So challenge, overcoming the challenge, and strength. So what I want to do is Chandler's going to make his own rune. Maybe I have some Viking in me. I'm going to go ahead and take this one, which I consider as a derivation of that one, and I'm going to put these two tails on the end. And in reality, that's very close to my fire symbol anyway. But I like that. That's challenge, you know, endurance, and then permanent strength. So that's what we're going to do, is an S with a diagonal line like that. A lot of talking, but I just wanted to explain it. Alright, we got our punches lined up. I didn't forget where I put the piece in the forge, so hopefully everybody's going to be happy, happy, happy. You're upside down. My longer punch is going to go here. And then my diagonal line in the middle here. And then strength out here. I like it. Well, there's a new rune for you. At least one I haven't encountered. Hopefully it isn't a rune that's in some other Futhork. That means you are a bad person. I like it. I do. Alright, I'm going to clean this thing all back up. We'll get it strung up and we will see what it looks like as a final product. So far I'm okay. A bit of time on the wire, on the grinder, but I went right to the wire wheel, and because I had gone to such a great grip before, it shined up pretty nicely. I don't know if we focus on the thing or not. I like it. A little bit of time on the buffing wheel. So I'm going to clean this off. We'll go ahead and etch it and see what happens. I mean, it looks pretty as it is right now. Is that a $20 thing? It's close to it, but not quite yet. The story will make it 20. Is in the etch. Well, leaving it for like 10 minutes. I cut off about 1.5 inch slug off of that forged welded piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and work towards plan B on this pendant. And that is where I would use a longer piece, of course, but I would go ahead and draw multiple pieces of the pendant in one slug. Draw it all out, get it the finished grind on the entire thing, and then nip them off individually, and only have to finish the ends. So I'm going to stretch this out to the thickness that I want. It should be a little thinner than that, and then I think we can get 2 out of this one, and we'll go through that exercise, see what it does. I would have done 6 or 8 inches of this at one time, maybe a little longer. Whatever I had forged welded. Yeah, that didn't get enough heat, that's for sure. so that I can get a lot done in a little bit of time. That's the heat. The whole point, you can kind of see it showing through here, the whole point of this particular approach is, what does that side pattern look like? Is it more pronounced than that end pattern? We'll keep forging here. Draw this out a little longer, a little flatter. I'm going rectangular in shape here, so uniformity isn't a requirement, which is good because you can put a little extra time in there. Actually, I wasn't after uniformity in that round one either. It was just the nature of the beast. Yeah. For sure. Alright, so I think that's thin enough for what I'm after. Get some of these hammer marks out, make the grinding a little easier. Alright, we're going to take this over to the grinder. I'll go ahead and get the rough grind on it. Man, you guys are almost out of the seam. And then we'll come back, we'll mark where we want it cut, and we'll put the symbols in, and then we'll cut them and finish grinding. That's because they're so small. Again, if I had a longer piece, this would have been a lot quicker to grind. It took me, I don't know, 5 minutes to do this, and it sucks. But anyway, now we're all shined up. Let's go ahead and we'll say we're going to split this in half as an individual pendant. I'll go ahead and drill a hole on each end right now since we're at this stage. We'll do the split and then put the symbol in, and we'll etch those. Again, the point is which ones can we do quicker, which ones have the best pattern, and do we want to do one or both? Let's get in the fire. We'll mark the center, put the symbols in. Go ahead and mark. And again, I would do multiple of these marks. We're going to mark where we expect the cut to be, and how we could probably just cut them. I guess we could if we had a piece of sacrificial underneath. Maybe that's what we'll do in the long run, is we'll go ahead and just do the cuts with the chisel. Oh boy, where'd they go? Okay, I found those two. Alright, let's get some symbols on them. Damn. As we're rethinking everything, I wouldn't cut them all first. I might mark them like I had originally planned. Then I'll go through and put all the symbols in, because I can do all of that on one heat. You know what I'm saying? Multiples of them anyway. And then go back and cut them, and that way I don't have to heat each one individually. I still need to drift that eye out if that's what I decide to do. I'm going a little deeper on that. So that's that one. Same symbol. It's the Chandler's derivation of trouble, endurance, and strength. We'll be back. Symbol on the last one. Close counts and horseshoes and hand grenades. Viking Rune. Still gotta do a good job, damn it. Oh, that one didn't connect. I gotta try to connect that. Good enough for me. Alright, let's drift those suckers. The drift. Catch my drift. I'm liking it. Flip it over. Come on now. Let's get the other one out of the heat. So this step, even though it's an extra step, as long as you get them staged properly, I think you'll be okay. And it makes it much more authentic, eh? I think anyway. Right, okay, so that's that. Drift down. So, I just took the other one out of the etch, got it neutralizing right now, had it in there for 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these guys, we're going to go to the grinder and wire brush, we're going to clean them up, give them a little bit extra shape on the bottom where we cut them, and we'll get them in the etch, and I'll bring them all back to you, see which ones you like best. Experimentation as we go. What I didn't do was put these back on the sander or the grinder. I went right to the wire wheel and the buffing wheel. Gives them a little more of a grainy look. I'm not sure what that's going to do to the pattern. Hopefully it doesn't obstruct it too much. Going into etch. Alright guys, prototyping is done. I think I made a decision on this. So this was the first one. Oh, I got them all tangled here. So the hole that I punched is just the right size for that 2mm round cord. I used distressed brown. Looks good on all my stuff. Black looks good too. If you look at the pattern, it's in there, and it's that round end pattern. The back actually turned out better. So I like it, but it was just a little too subtle. Plus it's kind of hokey. You gotta, you know, put a pin on it, grind it, and all that kind of stuff. So then I went to the second attempt. You see the pattern in there? It's way more subtle in pattern, but it's there. And I etched the round one for 20 minutes. This one I only etched for 10. So maybe I'll go a little deeper on that etch. Much easier to make. I kind of like the shape better. Alright, it looks more, I don't know what a Viking Rune looks like in a necklace, but it looks more like somebody would wear it. Alright, both dudes and dudettes. The third one turned out, again, you can see the pattern in there, but it just doesn't stand out. So it looks cool. It's got a grainy kind of pattern to it. I'm not sure about the clear coat that I put on. I'm thinking I might try a satin clear coat, but there they are. So hand forged, forge welded, chain Damascus, we'll call it that just for fun, just to tick a lot of people off. So anyway, will they sell? I guarantee they'll sell. Will they sell for $20? I think so. And if I can do 10 of them an hour, that's a $200 an hour project, right? And those are the good ones to find. And I'm pretty darn sure I can do 10 an hour. It only takes me, I mean, I forge welded the rest of, well, the next section of that cable. And that only takes 15-20 minutes. So maybe not quite an hour. Even if you can do 10 of them and 5 of them an hour, that's $100 an hour. I don't mind that kind of project at all. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this one. Relatively simple outcome, but good chance for you to try forge welding again. And cable is an easy one to use, that's for sure. And it's something you can find. Don't use aluminum. Don't use galvanized. Use steel cable. And it doesn't really matter what steel cable you use on something like this because it's not an edge, you know. You don't have to worry about the content too much. I etched in ferrochloric acid. You can get it at Radio Shack or in the electronics store for PCB etching. And that's it. I'll catch you on the next one, and hopefully it won't be too soon. Ciao, thanks. Guys, thought I'd come back for a quick second because I'm finishing up that strip that I did. I started putting different symbols on there. It's going well, this technique is. However, as I'm cutting off these pieces, and I drift the hole, then I cut it, drift the next hole, then I cut it. Just like you saw in the previous part of the video, they went flying. Well, the first one I cut went right into my trash can. I had myself a little fire. You got to be smart before you need to be smart. So I just will show you what I did. It created this little catch thing. All right, so just a piece of 20 gauge that I just kind of folded into a box. Stick the piece in here to be cut, and then this gets cut right here, and this box catches it. So yeah, think ahead. I should have done that. That was a close call, but let me show you how it works. All right, I got this piece drifted and ready to be cut. It slid in a little box like this. I find my mark. Just like that, it's cut off. That goes into the fire for the next heat. And there's my piece. So again, safety first, second, or third, but man, make sure it's on the agenda. So, quick little tool. All right, now the video's over. Ciao.